that was something that was burdening me, that was small, right? And we can sweep those little small things underneath the rug. But if we don't have this clear the air technique deployed consistently in our relationship, that's going to be something that like starts to chip away at our level of connection and intimacy. And that's unnecessary.
And this clearing the air is like weeding the garden. So this is a little weed in the garden that is flourishing of our relationship. And it's a little weed that will grow if she doesn't emote it.
Conscious couples, business partners, and singles committed to attracting their dream partner. Welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and combined relationship expertise to help you create and consistently cultivate the most magnificent, intimate relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching conscious couples and individuals all over the world, as well as starting and growing a global business together, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we. Conscious couples and individuals, welcome back to the one and only Conscious Couples podcast. Today we have episode 169. How heard do you feel in your relationship? Again, how heard do you feel in your relationship? Seen, heard, valued, appreciated. We're going to talk about it. Before we jump into this episode, I always want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Next Level Podcast Solutions for producing this show and 60 others. It's kind of mayhem over there in the best way. We do great work. We got our biggest client lately, and it's the scope of work is wild. So if you want to produce a show, if you have a podcast, or you want to start a podcast and you don't want to do everything yourself, let us do what we do best, that we've been perfecting for 8 years now, so that you can do what you do best. Emilia at Evolve Ventures is a client. Mm-hmm. We, the Conscious Couples podcast, is a client. Mm-hmm. I am a client at my own company, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. So do it. Do it. Before we jump into this episode, sweetheart, you ladies first.
My intention for our listeners today is to help them learn a technique that will help them feel way more heard in their relationship, because far too many times do I have people coming to me in my one-on-one coaching and really expressing some of the frustrations that they have in their relationship. And when we get to some of the roots, what isn't happening is that they aren't feeling heard in their relationship with their partner. And that becomes a rub that kind of unfolds and unzips the intimacy and the safety, psychological safety in their relationship. So it's my intention to help our podcast listeners feel heard. So
you have a
it's actually grounded in I had a client, it was like 2 weeks ago by the time this will have been produced in the world. And she and I were on a coaching call. They actually were initially relationship talks coaching clients. Mm-hmm. And then they had done the hybrid model, I believe. Yep. And then they kind of split off. The male in the relationship started coaching with Alan. The female in the relationship started coaching with me. And then long story short,
by the way, shout out to you too. If you're listening, you know who you are. We will keep it anonymous, but it was very wonderful to hear that you two are doing so well.
Yeah.
Emilia kept it high level because we're big on confidentiality, but I said, how are they doing? Oh. And you said really, really well, actually. And
I'm so proud of them.
Shout out to you too.
Yeah, shout out to them. So that being said, I was on the phone with the female in the relationship, and she and I are doing some really deep inner work that is helping her show up in her relationship so much more authentically to herself. And in the call, she had shared about how there was something that her and her partner, out of inspiration for the we check-ins that you and I had helped them initially when they came to us for RTC, kind of it spun out of that of like my partner, he has this thing that he does in his nonprofit. And he came to me and he said, would you be willing to do this energy clearing? They're very energetically focused, very into the spiritual world. And she was like, it kind of started off as it was very similar to the we check-in that you and Alan had shared with us. And so we had a really great foundation to go from. But what I realized underneath that is that there were parts of me that were really, really scared to actually share and quote unquote clear the air, which is the technique that in this episode we'll share. And so I shared with her what would be really helpful and the 3 steps that essentially Alan and we did on our walk earlier this morning, and we're going to share with all of our listeners today. But essentially the technique is to help unburden. The purpose of this is to help unburden what pain points happened in the relationship, either, from the day to day kind of we're busy and we accidentally say something that we don't mean, and that kind of like hurts. And there's a part that holds on to that hurt and that kind of burdens us. Or it might have been something that happened very early in the relationship that maybe you two didn't know each other really well and didn't feel confident to express that, ooh, that really hurt when you said X, Y, and Z. And so there's this twofold dynamic of partners get into a relationship. They go from the infatuation stage, then they start to go and enter into the other stages of their relationship. But there's parts of them that hold on to these burdened energies. And so clearing the air is the technique that when she and I started talking about it, helps her actually release whatever her parts or her heart is feeling burdened by. And so, they have started to implement that, and she has checked in with herself of like, what does she feel is going to be most helpful? Because at the very root, what's really critical is for both of them to feel heard, not necessarily immediately to do anything about it. So Alan and I are going to get into a little bit about that technique because he and I tried it as both problem solvers. It is really difficult sometimes for us to just sit in a 3-minute window and just simply express.
Okay, so the highest level here, a couple things I want to share. Number one, the we check-in is something that we created a worksheet for way back in the day, probably 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. And we recently reviewed it, and it's 2 full pages long.
Yeah,
so we're going to be we're going to be revamping that, but this is kind of a check-in.
Yeah.
And it's called clearing the air. So I think when you name something, the concept can stick. So clearing the air. So you sit down with your partner, you share space with your partner. You don't have to be sitting. We were walking. Emilia and I were walking. Now, there's 3 steps I think that are really powerful. I'm going to go high level and then break it down. Mm-hmm. The first third in a relationship, I think, is the first part, which Emilia calls emoting, which is to express emotions and to just be heard, seen, understood, and valued. Mm-hmm. The second step is identify the root cause of those frustrations or burdens or challenges. And then the third step is to implement positive change. Today's episode is just about the first part. And we have the first part broken down into, of course, 3 parts.
3 components. 3 elements that are critical.
So we're going to keep it as simple as possible. With your partner, number 1, share space in a non-triggered environment.
Yeah.
So we were on our walk this morning with little Tucker. And when we say a non-triggered environment, there was a few neighbors who had dogs, and Tucker was barking in the middle of this. So I would say it wasn't the most peaceful thing. But for you guys and girls out there, make sure it's a space that is calm and quiet and non-triggering.
Yeah.
Okay. So sit down with your partner, walk with your partner somewhere tranquil.
I just want to add this really quick before you go into the second component. I had shared with this client that going into what Alan just said, if you and your partner are both
make sure you do it in traffic.
Yeah, in a high stress, you're, at the end of the day, this is not going to go over well because your lower parts of your brain are just going to take over and maybe go into problem solving or fix it mode. Like, this is not about fix it mode. This is literally just sitting in the lovely discomfort that most of us have of just experiencing emotions and letting them be expressed and emoted from our heart center. And so what does
emoting mean?
Emoting means literally communicating the emotions that you have within you and sharing that externally.
Emoting.
It's kind of like yogging. Apparently you just
for
express
an extended period of time
for a limited amount of time in this setting. But yeah, do not do this when you're triggered, because I shared with Alan, like, I don't want couples doing this just because they want to and get it off their chest in a moment where it's not mutual consent, meaning we're both not in a triggered space, and that's critical. So
so step 1 is shared tranquil environment, non-triggered. Step 2, set a timer for 3 minutes. Not 1, not 5, 3 minutes. We did this earlier on our walk. And ladies first. And if you're in a homosexual relationship and it's both men, pick whichever one you want to go first.
Yeah.
And essentially you just listen for 3 full minutes for an extended period of time. And when the timer goes off, then you get to volley back whatever your stuff is. So 3 minutes, Emilia emoted while we were walking, and I just was walking, taking it all in.
Can I ask you, what was that like for you? I think you and I sharing about what that's like to be on the other end while your partner just emotes might be helpful for the audience, because I think it will help them understand when they have their own experience that it's normal. Like, it's very normal to have this experience.
Well, you had shared, and again, Emilia and I do this all the time, so it's going to seem trivial.
Yeah.
But I have these nice new shirts. If you're on YouTube, you can see the Conscious Couples shirt that I have on. And I'm starting a new podcast called Business Growth University. So I'm leaning into a new brand of myself. I'm going to become more of a businessman.
This red is called Conscious Couples Maroon.
It's right. Okay. It's not actually, right? When I bought the shirt on Amazon, it didn't have that. I'm kidding. But okay, so this is Conscious Couples Maroon, $29.95 in the show notes. I'm joking. We don't sell shirts. But real talk, I have all of my new shirts that I bought for the Business Growth University podcast hanging above our kitchen table.
To be even more specific, to give everyone a visual, it's on our chandelier. That's like a very nice, well designed, and very expensive. I didn't buy it. It was a hand-me-down. Thank you, Mom. But like, it's beautiful and should not be a hanger of clothes.
Way too expensive in my opinion too, by the way.
I agree. I would never
it's nice,
personally
but what are we
invest
doing?
in that. But
okay, and we're not going to tell you the price. It's too much. If too much is a price, that's what it is. Imagine looking at the price tag. Too much.
Anyways, it's way too expensive to be a clothes hanger. I'll just put it that way.
Okay, so the shirts are there, and Emilia has this apparently steamer that makes shirts look so nice.
It's called My Little Steamer. Also,
is it actually called that?
Yeah, it's so cute.
I can't tell when you're joking or not now.
Yeah.
It's like Conscious Couples Red, My Little Steamer. Both will be in the show notes. Affiliate links. I'm kidding. We're not selling any of this. But anyways, so essentially what you do is you iron your shirts with a steamer, and it makes them look nice. You can tell this one is not ironed if you're on YouTube. But that's why they're there. It's a trigger for me, a cue for me, not a trigger, a cue for me to get that done. And Emilia was emoting earlier in her 3-minute segment, and she was saying how it's frustrating for her to have shirts hanging in the middle of our living room. And again, at the end of the day, it's not that big a deal.
But for my parts, that is, because right now we're in spring and the light is not coming into our home. So I have a part of me that really wants to be outside frolicking all the time, when in reality, we're grinding business all day, every day. And so those little moments, like glimmers, that bring so much joy into my life is when there's light that comes into and through the window. And when there's giant chandelier that has shirts hanging on them, my parts feel like they're not allowed to have that glimmer, right? And so I expressed that was something that was burdening me, that was small, right? And we can sweep those little small things underneath the rug. But if we don't have this clear the air technique deployed consistently in our relationship, that's going to be something that like starts to chip away at our level of connection and intimacy. And that's unnecessary.
And this clearing the air is like weeding the garden. So this is a little weed in the garden that is flourishing of our relationship, and it's a little weed that will grow if she doesn't emote it. So you asked me about my experience. It was a little bit challenging for me to not jump in and have a dialogue at the time, because to me, problem solving happens as a byproduct of a brainstorming session. And so this whole emoting thing is new to me.
This is coming from an engineer, just for anyone joining. Alan's an engineer, and so like not only that, but has a very high ACE score, so adverse childhood experiences. So when you combine an engineer and high ACE score, emoting is just like not safe.
Well, as an engineer, we talk about things so that they can be solved. We don't talk about things
not so that they can just be expressed.
Exactly.
Essentially.
And so we're going to solve it.
Yeah.
But not until after expression is
Correct.
happening. Because at the end of the day, I need you to feel heard, seen, appreciated, and valued first.
Correct.
And then we can have a dialogue. Okay, so that's what it was like for me.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that wanted to jump in and brainstorm how to solve this.
Right.
But I didn't, because we had a timer.
Right.
So we're good. And then, so that's the first step.
Hi, Amy and Chris Lennius here to give a quick moment of appreciation for Alan and Emilia. We have been working with them for a few months now, maybe 6, maybe going on 6 months now, and we appreciate you guys so much. To see you guys work as a team, to help couples work as a team, is one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen. Not only have you helped us reconnect and helped us with our marriage, you've also helped us through big life moments, with boundaries, with creating our own stable unit at home. We appreciate you guys so, so much.
Yes, truly heartfelt appreciate you guys and everything you've done for us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
We love you.
The second step is set the timer again, this time for 4 minutes. I'm joking. And I'm joking. All right. So you set it for 3, and then you express how you feel about their expression. No, I'm joking, babe. I'm joking. I know. Keep it on the rails. We're having fun here. We're having fun. No,
goodness.
so seriously, okay. Find a safe space, non-triggered. Set a timer for 3 minutes. Partner 1 expresses for 3 full minutes. Partner 2 expresses for 3 full minutes. And you both feel unburdened. You both feel seen, appreciated, understood, and valued. That is the goal.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we did that this morning, and we both shared a bunch of stuff. And I do think we both feel better. A lot of times, Emilia and I jump on this podcast, and we're in the middle of challenging, stressful days. We've got teams, we've got businesses, we've got 3 businesses between the 2 of us.
Amazing clients.
We have so many clients. Between the 2 of us, we have almost 40 clients just in one-on-one coaching. That's not including
Everything
production and all that. So life is very stressful, especially when you have a lot of responsibilities. And a lot of times I've said on this podcast, I don't like that our relationship looks worse on here than it really is, because behind the scenes, you and I are so much more than me frustrated on this microphone. And so today, the emoting, I do think, has had a positive impact on me and you being more playful in this episode, which I do think is probably making it slightly more enjoyable.
I really appreciate you saying that, because, you know, why I highlighted the element about the engineer and the A score is because of the conversations that I've heard one-on-one with people. Most people are not encouraged to listen when emotions start to come up, right? Like emotions in general, if we were just to talk about that as an episode around emotions and someone hearing your emotions, that contributes to feeling heard.
Especially for men.
Right? Especially for men, right? Like a lot of people, you are the minority if you are comfortable sitting for 3 minutes and having someone who you love and care about emote something that has to do with your relationship and you not have some degree of discomfort. That you are an absolute anomaly. But that is a skill that you can develop, because when you were growing up, likely any emotion, especially if it just so happened to be in the frustration, disappointment, hurt, sad, fearful, scared, etc., that was something that just got swept away very quick, because most people did not have what's called distress tolerance, which is when someone is in a distressful emotion. Can you sit in that and not strictly jump into problem solver mode? A lot of people do not have comfort with sitting for 3 minutes and having someone just express their emotional state, right?
When this is happening, just sit there and breathe. Do box breaths, just breathe deeply. You'll hear, whenever you're stressed out, all of us do this sort of, and that's the hey, I'm stressed. But it's also you trying to de-stress. And I think that's really powerful. Okay.
Yeah. That's your central nervous system clearing out what it perceived as a threat. So when we talk about our emotions, we are unconsciously learned behavior to get into fight or flight standpoint, to like start defending, right? You and I talked with another client about shame response system, which we can definitely talk about in another podcast, but the brain perceives whenever someone's emoting to go into defense mode or to run away or to have some sort of mechanism that's other than sit there and not do anything about it. Just listen. Yeah. Listen with love. Listen with intentionality. Actually hear what they're saying, right? Most of us are so fragile and we don't know how to actually just hold down that space to really actively listen, not so that we can solve or so that we can do anything about it, but just simply see our partner. And the power that you can give your relationship when you can hold a container like that for 3 minutes, like, holy crap, shifts mountains, truly.
When you do this, I want you to think about the movie Inside Out. What Emilia is referring to there is, I got to talk with my hands. We were holding hands before that if you're on just audio. in Inside Out, if you haven't seen it, first of all, please go see it.
Both of them.
Both of them. Inside Out 1 and Inside Out 2. We prefer Inside Out 2. By the way, there's something called Evolve Movie Club. We're going to put a link in the show notes. If you would like to join Evolve Movie Club, it's totally free. It's every single month. I'm always there.
Mm-hmm.
It's been amazing.
As a matter of fact, when this episode launches tonight,
Nice.
would be May Evolves Movie Club,
What's
and
the
we're
movie?
going to be talking about Wicked.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Wicked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like musicals, you're going to love Wicked. There's some funny music.
I
in
don't
that.
even like musicals, and
And that movie
was
was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Love.
so Evolve Movie Club tonight. The link will be in the show notes to register. If you can't make it tonight, it's every month.
Mhm.
I highly encourage it. It's essentially a place where you watch magnificent films to learn about yourself and others. Inside Out 1 and Inside Out 2 were both movies, right? At Evolve Movie Club?
They were. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if you've done Inside Out 2 yet, or did you?
Yeah. That
You
was
did.
the third movie.
Okay.
It was Leo, Inside Out 1, then Inside Out 2.
Okay, so nice
Mhm.
memory.
Thank you.
Pull up your spreadsheet. No, I'm kidding.
Alan is an our number one Evolve Movie Club
It's
member,
my
in
favorite.
case you can't tell. Yeah.
My favorite. So Inside Out, if you haven't seen them, how dare you? No, but there's this console in Inside Out where there's anger and there's joy and there's sadness and there's all these different emotions. Picture when your partner's just sharing all this stuff they've been feeling frustrated by or burdened by in your relationship, and just picture anger wanting to grab the console. You just got to let the parts and the different emotions just kind of be.
Sit back and watch.
Sit back and watch. Then, last piece, then you can go into bringing this back to the macro. Then you can talk about what you both expressed. And to me, this is where I allow my engineer to come back in and go, okay, well, there's a root cause of these frustrations.
Mm.
Let's identify the root cause of these frustrations so that we can solve this. And the question that I love is, what's the one decision we can make today
Mhm.
to solve 1,000 future frustrations? And that's how our relationship has gotten so magnificent, because we all have challenges and problems, but you can have much higher quality problems when you start solving these little ones that are just constantly causing all these issues. So what do you want to share before we go, love?
It's something, just intrusive thought. I was like, that popped in my head. You're an engineer and I'm an emotional engineer. And it's so fascinating how you and I, our engineering brain, because of the root cause analysis, is something that you and I, right? People look at a relationship and they're like, I want a relationship like you. And oftentimes we have developed this podcast to make sure that we're giving those tiny little tidbits away so that couples can really implement them in their lifestyle in a meaningful and impactful way. So if you don't feel as though you're being heard, it's because you're not doing the first third of what we just talked about and the three components that we talked about. And then you're not likely going into, after expressing, talking about it, doing what we call an experience review, defining what the root cause analysis is, and then actually going into a strategy mode. That's where relationship talks coaching, when I look at the bigger essence of you and I in RTC, we put my emotional engineering brain together and your mathematical strategy engineering mind together, and it's so powerful. And so we have helped couples so tremendously in that way, because those skill sets are so underdeveloped. And it's not, we're not blaming or shaming anyone. I don't expect anyone to have these skill sets. You and I have worked on this over time, and it's been so incredible to see the benefit of doing these little seemingly insignificant things and letting them compound. So
yeah, when I wanted to become an engineer, I went to engineering school for 4 years and I became a computer engineer. If you want to be an engineer, you go to engineering school.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have a successful relationship, you have to go to relationship school.
Yeah.
And I don't know why no one seems to, not no one, obviously our listeners get that, but the world doesn't. It's so alarming. To me, if you want to be great in your relationship, you have to go learn how to be great in your relationship. Let us help you do that. We have one client I'm thinking of right now. He actually just signed up for business coaching as well.
Nice.
And he's in relationship talks coaching. He's been in a long time, he and his partner. And he said, I know we're going to succeed in our marriage. We've got Alan and Emilia.
Hey,
I was like, damn right.
Let's
I love
go.
it. And not just succeed. I'm talking flourish. I'm talking,
love that word.
they are flourishing externally too. Their careers. It's unbelievable. So again, we're not allowed to talk ourselves up, but it's our favorite work in the world. It's meaningful as hell. Reach out. The first one is free. Click the link in the show notes, register. And relationship talks coaching is not just going to help you flourish in your intimate relationship and grow together, not apart. It's going to help you build your goals and dreams. You guys will be more successful, not just in love, but in life.
and fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in addition to that, we have a lot of links in the show notes. So check them all out. We also have an invitation to you for our next Relationship Talks event. It's a free event, happens every third Thursday of the month. This will be May 15th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we want you there because we are going to be sharing with the community about what your partner's fight language is. And so we get into conflict all the time, not you and I, but we as in relationships. Conflict happens, and constructive conflict is actually one of the 6 essential elements to a healthy relationship.
Is one of them defensiveness? Yeah.
I can't tell you that.
If
I'm not gonna
okay,
give all the goods.
if it is, that would be mine. I think I
Mm.
think I get defensive. My engineer is like, wait, what about this data? So at the end of the day, you said we didn't have conflict. We do. We resolve conflict and use the conflict to be constructive. We do not fight, though.
It's because we know what the quote unquote fight language is. So everyone has specific love languages, right? What you love receiving or gift giving or adventure, or physical touch, right? This is what happens when your brain perceives that you and your partner are in a fight. What is the go-to response or language, body language, emotional language, etc. And so we're all going to learn and walk away with that event, understanding what our fight language is, what our partner's fight language is, and we're going to both walk away with what can we do differently instead of going into our fight response.
And the purpose of this event is to help you and your partner stop fighting. Learn how to handle conflict in a constructive, healthy way so you can stop hurting each other, because that is hurting your relationship. Okay, we got to jump. As always, it's not about you or me. It's about the we. Thank you for listening.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please make sure you follow us on Instagram. I am at Evolve with Emilia, and Alan is a Lazaros88.
Also, if you or your partner resonated with this episode, leave us a review at the link in the show notes, and please share this with someone you love and care about.
Until next time, remember, it's not about you or me. It's about
the we.